Okay, so thank you, Alma and Dermot, for the opportunity to be here one more year. And first disclosure is I'm getting so depressed and jaded with Brexit that I think every time I speak, I just get more disheartened about the actual possibilities of doing anything in any reasonable time frame. So apologies if I spoil the mood. My intention today is just to think about changes in procedures, because I think that's what tends to drive very significantly the discussion and the misconceptions around what procurement can do and cannot do. So in the UK, procurement is conflated with issues about public sector reform and structuring of the public sector, particularly in health. We have both public suppliers and buyers, which is just something we choose to do, but that has nothing to do with what procurement is about. You could decide to completely republicize the NHS and stop talking about NHS suppliers, and then you take procurement out of the health system design. So there are lots of things that are really idiosyncratic of probably historical accidents, and that is something we should bear in mind. It should also be borne in mind that the directives are special, not only because of the internal market goal that they have, and I agree with what Catherine and others have said before, but also because we have 28 or so different cultures and traditions of public law and what public law means, and to what extent and how do we constrain discretion of authorities that carry out market interventions. And therefore, in countries where there's no strong tradition of public law, like the UK, maybe the Netherlands, this is seen as an irritant. It's something that came from the EU, but we never had it, and we would be very happy to get rid of it. Whereas in other countries like France, Belgium, Spain, this is something that we had from the 18th century. So God forbid we get rid of it, because it's one of the very few limits we have against rampant corruption. So we have lots of problems about talking about this in general. So if we have to look at the how, because that's what procurement certainly is about, then how are we going to square all these different constraints or challenges? And I would think that what Ed suggested is that the EU rules are very mechanical, so differently from the GPA, differently from the Universal Moral Law, they aim to prescribe a system. I would think that that's 2004 parlance. We still have not caught up with the reforms in 2014. Because I suggest that we do an exercise, which is, let's read the directive as if we want to avoid it. Right? Which I think it's probably a very Spanish contracting authority mentality, but just humor me for 1 second. So if I am a contracting authority and I want to carry out the procurement, trying to avoid as many rules as I can from the directive, the only things that are going to bind me are a few publications, the beginning and at the end of the process, and a few time limits. But everything else I can play around, except for the general principles. So if you look at it, now I will have to be able to justify my decisions against non-discrimination, against nationality-based preferences, or restrictions of competition, but everything else is just a principle. So rules on selection and exclusion, I can set as detailed rules as I want about what documents I want to reveal, but then I also have to ensure that I'm able to deal with equivalent documents for those that come from jurisdictions where these documents don't exist. So why would I bother to set any documentary requirements? I could do without. I could just say, I'm going to say that you have sufficient standing, and I'm going to measure it according to these 3 benchmarks, and I can have it very open-ended. I could also go very similarly around technical specifications. So I can set out my performance or my problem that I wanted to solve for me, but why would I bother specifying technical constraints when I still have to make sure that I can assess equivalence? Same thing goes for award. In the end, I'm going to have to, of course, score the tenders, but I will do it according to weightings that I can refine later on, and I don't even have to disclose my evaluation method according to the recent jurisprudence of the Court of Justice. So really, the extent to which I am constrained is something that I would challenge. I am not so sure. And the other thing that I would also like to challenge is that we have great ideas about how to do things differently. And to me, the counter-argument to that is the transposition of Article 74 to 76 of the new directives, where basically the directive is completely open, and it simply says, member states, you go and design your procedure for social and special services. And the transposition in the UK basically comes to say, every authority in every case can create its own bespoke arrangement, because we have not set a default process. In other countries, the transposition that exists, or the projects for transposition, basically extend the regular procedures also to these ones. It's just we only do it for larger contracts. but we have not come up with a very clear idea on how to do things differently. And in the end, maybe it is because, put simply, we cannot create one default procedure that will work. So it's going to be about the complexity of the procurement, as Caroline was suggesting at the beginning. But then, it doesn't even matter to have 3 different levels, or 5 different levels, or 13 different levels of complexity. It will always be a tailored thing. So probably the short and easy answer is what we need is competent people doing it. Now, why don't we get them? And that's where we're going to start having problems. We don't get them because it's not true that contract law is about constraints. It's about constraints, but it's also about incentives. And the problem with the analogy of private-public sector is that in the private sector, we do have incentives. You do well your procurement, you're going to be paid more. You're going to be promoted. You may be poached by a different company. You do your procurement badly, you're going to be fired. In the public sector, we definitely don't have the upside. And in most countries, we also don't have the downside because the public servants are irremovable. So we need to think about that. We need to think about professionalization. We need to think about incentives. But luckily, these are not the topics for me today. So in terms of process, what I'm wondering is, can we learn from other areas? So going back to the point that procurers are humans, so it's going to be people that have to make decisions in uncertainty and with information asymmetries and a constrained time. Can we learn from other disciplines? And then one of the areas I'm toying with, but I have no answer, so this is very exploratory, is could we nudge contracting authorities? So now there is this public policy hype based on Thaler and Sunstein's book from 2009, but we're still catching up with it. That is, well, you can certainly influence people's behavior by setting a default from which they have to actively depart if they want to do something differently. But if we can get the default right, then most people will just follow the default and go on with it. So the question would be, can we not design a process part of the procurement rules that creates that standard process? So a standard process that is going to be pretty straightforward and that may work for most cases, even if not all. It will allow them to deviate when they want to do something different, but if they don't deviate, it's going to be compliant. And the difficulty I have with this is that it sounds good and easy, but the default is going to be very difficult to design, because the default is going to say something along the lines of, do your homework. That is, don't decide what you're going to buy until you know what's on offer. And also, don't try to reinvent the wheel. So the other thing is, we lots of times think there is not a market for something, just that we didn't look in the right places for it. So I think that if I were to nudge people, I would nudge them to do a lot of research before they actually engage in the procurement. And how do we do that? That's going to be difficult. But that would be one of my desired elements in that. The second thing is electronic procurement by default. So I would say if you don't want to make any efforts, what we have to have is a platform that allows you to buy with the minimum effort. And in that regard, I think we need to get rid of the framework agreement culture that we have. And we need to go to dynamic purchasing systems. So I think if the CCS in the UK or any other central purchasing bodies in other countries could create the eBay for the public sector, which is something that Chile has been trying to do for a while, that would be pretty straightforward. So you just make sure that the system itself complies. It's a back office thing that somebody runs in central government, but for the contracting authority, it just is going online, buying what you need, and paying for it. And I think that's where we should be putting our effort as well, in designing a technology-centered process. So person-centered procedure of making them think what they need and why they need it for, and then a technology-enhanced procedure that allows them to do it quite effortlessly. And this is going to cover, let's face it, probably 80 or 90% of the expenditure, because most of the expenditure is small contracts and stuff that is repeated by. And then for infrastructure, what you need is probably to take it off the hands of people that will buy one road every 20 years. So that's a different type of centralization. It's not centralization by volume, but it's centralization by expertise. And that's the other thing we could maybe think about. It's constraining what you can actually buy if you don't have the expertise to do it. But then again, it's not process related, it's competence on location. So in the end, just to be catching up with time, what I would suggest is that the concentration on reforming the procedures and adding yet one that is seemingly more flexible, or one more to the 13, because we don't like 13, so next time we're going to have 14 or 15, so the superstitious. That's the wrong approach. And I think we need to deproceduralize procurement and move it towards first principles. Which brings me to the last point, and catching up on some things Walter said. Why is procurement moving in the direction of more justiciable rights for individual tenderers that can challenge decisions? Because we have given up on public oversight. Most of the national audit offices are under-resourced, they come in late, we don't have a tool to monitor things as they are happening. So by the time they intervene, they issue a damning report when the contract has been executed. So unless we invest in oversight very heavily, then this is the only sort of check and balance that we have. So at the cost of annoying Michael and Simon and other people that make their livelihoods with litigation or the lack of it, I would say what we need to do is invest more heavily in real-time technology-enhanced oversight. So when we see one contracting authority doing something out of the norm, we go and scratch the surface and see if that's happening for the right reasons or the wrong reasons. But we don't wait for litigation, and we take that cost off the SMEs and other participants. So in the end, I have nothing to say about processes. I have some things to say around why processes are the wrong focus, and I really look forward to the discussion. Thank you for your attention.